Then we start with the second session with Dr. Arundhati ji. We could have the prayer by Shri. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Michelle.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Welcome, Dr. Professor Arundhati Sundar from Chinmaya International Foundation for the second session of the day, that is IKS in primary education. So since yesterday we have been looking at education and coloniality, education, culture and IKS. We are trying to understand what are India's knowledge systems this morning. And gradually as we move forward, today we would be seeing India's knowledge systems and how do we bring it back to the primary education, higher education, professional education, and in research institutions. Because what is more important is that one is understanding India's knowledge systems, and the second task at hand is how to bring it across the various disciplines. And as teachers who are undergoing through this program, especially, we are the ones who are eventually going to make it happen. So welcome Professor Arundhati Sundar ji to our second session of the day and second day of the FTP in India's knowledge systems, sources, theories, concepts, and practices. A little bit about Professor Arundhati Sundar ji. She's identified, there's a small typo here, I'm sorry for that. She identifies herself as a storyteller and an educator. Her mission is to spark the love for Indic culture in the younger generation. She's an academic outreach coordinator at Chinmaya International Foundation. She's been involved as a Sevika of Bal Vihar youth and adult study groups of the Chinmaya mission. And the introductions are very large for each one of the resource people, but we have just accepted 3 or 4 bullets in the best interest of time so that we can have deeper engagements with them. Over to you, Professor Arundhati Sundar, on IKS in primary education.
Thank you, Richa ji. Thank you, Michelle ji. I have not been involved in school education, though I've been involved with school children and through the Bal Vihar movement. Okay, so that has been a great experience, because the children who come there and the parents who send their children are motivated, because it's purely voluntary. There is nothing compulsion about it. So that has kept me very enthused and has given me a lot of success, because both those become ideal conditions. When it comes to the general school, the matter can be quite different, quite difficult. And let me start with with a presentation. Am I allowed to share screen? Yes.
Yes, Dr. Sundar.
Yes. So, okay. This is a picture that most of you will be able to say what it is. Right? Does anyone want to unmute and tell me what you see? I was told this is going to be a very interactive session. Yeah, Pratibha ji, yes, you can. Yes, please. Pratibha Patel, yes, please.
Namaste, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. So, madam, I think this is a scenario in Ramayana wherein Bharata and Shatrugna come and try to want to take back Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana, and Rama refuses and hands over his padukas to him. That is the scenario.
On the request of,
Yes.
when Bharata tries his best to take him back and he refuses, he says, okay, I will rule in your place as a regent. I will not be the king. I will not accept the kingship and this. So this is a story which even if I showed to a school child, they would know the story. What would not be known is that when Bharata has come back now from his maternal place, all the way from Kekaya, come back to Ayodhya and finds that the Ayodhya city, Ghum Sam, there is nothing at all. And then when he hears from his mother that Raja Dashrath has passed away, and Ram and Sita are no longer, because he is the king. This story is known. What is not known is that the body itself had been preserved in oil for over a week till Bharata could come back and perform the Agni Sanskar, the last Sanskar for them. That was done more than 12 days after the passing away of the king. And when he goes to he says, I'm going to bring back, I'm going to the Vanvas, I'm going to the forest to look for Ramchandra ji, but I'm going to perform Abhishek of Ramchandra ji just there itself and come back. So now to perform the Abhishek of Ramchandra, who's going to become like the emperor now, you require to go with the whole entire retinue of people. I'm going to do it in grand fashion so that there is no doubt left in Ramchandra ji's mind that this is what he wants. Okay. So now when he's doing this, what does he, how does he prepare for it? He tells the people, lay the road to the forest because I'm going to go with the army and with all of the people. So lay the road to the forest. Okay. Kriyatam shilpibi pantha samani vishamani cha rakshinas chantu samyantu pati durga vicharakaha. Let the road be aligned by artisans who will level the ground, guards who will judge what is inaccessible terrain and what should be for this thing, etc. Pratibha, you can bring your hand down. So that and this preparation. Now, before his parting, his preparation, what does it say? Bhumi Pradeshe. All these are he actually names the people, and which is mentioned in the Ramayana. Land surveyors, Sutra Karma Visharada, experts in measurement, Sutra Karma, experts, Visharada is experts, Khanaka, excavators, Yantraka, engineers, Karmantika, Sapataya, Yantra Kovida, Margina, road workers, Rukshatakshaka, woodcutters. Why? Because there will be trees on the way. Kupakara, well drillers, because as people of Ayodhya will go also, along with the entire army and everyone will go, they will require water to drink. So water drillers, Sudhakara, who will make the place very bamboo workers, Samartha, competent, and all of them should be what? Samartha and Rashtara. That means not just, they should be highly competent and zealous and energetic workers. Such should be. So now all of these professions, when he's talking about them, he knows exactly what all is needed. Now you can see an entire project of how highways should be built, laid out for you, right? What all. All of these people, and these people. So the road is laid out, and then himself along with the army and along with the most of the population of Ayodhya want to go, and they all go together. So all of those facilities are made. Then I saw what is happening? Going ahead. Okay. So this thing is not quite right. The next should be a picture. Oops. The picture is not appearing. Okay. So The entire picture is not appearing. All right, I'm sorry about this. I don't know what's what's going wrong with the presentation. Then I find a picture of done in the miniature style of an entire city laid out. When I saw the picture, I thought, okay, it is an over ambitious picture done by a Shilpakara. Who thinks that I mean by an artist who's imagined a beautiful tent and all of that, and lots of boats and along the river that takes him up to the river Ganga. Bharata leaves from Ayodhya and goes up to the river Ganga. There he meets the king of the Vanavasis, Guha, and he then takes him in the boats, arranges for the boats to take them across. And that entire beautiful picture is not to be seen. Are you seeing it on your?
Not
Okay, this is also not the right order. Can you give me a second to sort out what this is, why the presentation is not going? I'll do a stop share. All right. So, okay. So, entire. So anyway, let me carry on with the with my stop share. Do stop share.
Yeah,
go to the. Okay. So, excuse me first. So the entire, so what happens is that he has given specific instructions, and an entire tent city has been built with beautiful arrangements of the tents. Not only have the trees been cut to make way for the road, but the rest of the road, in order that people be listening, there have been shaded trees planted so that the road remains shaded. Once he goes across from the Ganga, then that is when they enter into the forest. The interesting thing is that after all of the Ayodhya Vasis and Bharata have returned back from that, with the Padukas have returned back to Ayodhya, Ramchandra says that now this region has been occupied by so many people, the ecology has been disturbed. They have camped here and the ecology has been disturbed. We shall move away from here and allow the ecology of the place to return back to its normal. So look at the awareness of that entirety. So that means a very holistic picture emerges when you read the story, even in slight amount of details. When you go to the original Ramayana, a very different picture emerges of what it is, what kind of knowledge. So once the story is known in this manner, who are the people who are? So I once did an exercise with the students, and I said that let's say all of you have to come to. I stay at the Chinmaya International Foundation. Okay, so you have to come here to the ashram and stay here for 1 week. What would be the what all would you pack to come here? So they made a list of things, and those things included all their clothes and this and that, etc., etc. And then I said, so how much do you think it would weigh? So they said, oh, only 15 kilos are allowed by the flight. If we came by train, maybe more would be able to do the same. And I said, okay, you have packed for 1 week and you're finding 15 kilos to be inadequate. Let's say you have to pack for 14 years. Because that is what Ramchandraji, Sita and Lakshmana did. What would you pack? Tell me, for 14 years, is it possible to pack anything? Is it possible to pack clothes? You're going into the forest, not into another city or not into another civilization place, okay, going into the forest, what would you, so what you would need more than anything else is the knowledge in your mind of how to live, what would be and the ability, the strength to face any challenge, a fearlessness that you would be capable of facing, a self-confidence that you would be able to, whatever challenge comes up, my bow and arrow and my presence of my mind and all of the qualities that I have would be sufficient for me to be able to make my way. Along with that, the humility. Because the very first thing when Ramchandra goes into the forest, what he does is at each step he goes to the rishis or the Vanavasis and asks, where do I go? What do I do? Okay, so on one hand he's well prepared, just as Bharata was well prepared. Even before he became a king, he was well prepared as to how to manage a project. Similarly, this is well prepared. Our Ramchandraji is well prepared. Ramchandraji and Lakshman, both of them are well prepared in how to live in the forest by their very early sojourn with Vishwamitra when he was there to guard the yajna of Vishwamitra. So that is the so that is what why Indian knowledge tradition is the question that is being asked. Why Indian knowledge tradition in school? That is a question which is being asked. Okay. So okay. So there is a. I don't know if someone. The order. So okay. So the question is, can anyone see the irony in the question? Why Indian knowledge system? Because they're Indian. There should not even be a question of this kind. We are Indian. It is the essence of our identity. If you identify yourself as non-Indian and then you say why Indian knowledge system, that may be a valid question. But if you are an Indian, that question also should not arise. That why this. And is it yourself to be defined by yourself? You remember how much we protest if somebody else tells you what you are, who you are, what you do, what to say. We resent it as a 15-year-old being told by parents who are our well-wishers. And when they say, okay, take this thing, we say, no, why, I want this, I want that, etc., etc. We resent that. But when they are told, when they are not given Indianness in the school, we almost seem to take it as though that is the norm. It is truly ironical that this question should be arising among the Indians. Sometimes I hate to tell, when I send videos to people, I will not send of an Indian, but I will send of Michel Dalinoji. And then when he is a white man telling us, a French man telling us, oh, okay, yes. So I'm quite sure Michel ji is used to that this thing coming from Indians. So, when it is why Indian knowledge system, and then people say why Indian knowledge system, the people who identify themselves as Bhartiya do not say why Bhartiya Gnana Parampara. It's a very tricky thing that if you say I'm a Bhartiya, then that question doesn't arise. But when you say you're Indian, then that question arises. So is it our own prejudice that appears to limit our imagination of what it is and why this is necessary? And yesterday, I think Sai Deepak ji answered that it is only in terms of economic opportunities and career paths, it is our lack of imagination that doesn't allow us to see the immensity of why Indian knowledge system, why Indian knowledge will pay off in great details. Okay, so what is the problem statement that I think students in India are growing up with no exposure to India, to Indic systems of knowledge and its foundational philosophy, its aesthetic or civilizational ethos. And because of that lack of complete exposure, which has been erased from the very young age, this kind of when growing up, this kind of a question arises. Mathematics, engineering, computer science are wonderful disciplines that are intellectually demanding, they are fulfilling, I dare say even doctoring, because I know that is the most, this one, I wanted the fifth one. But mastering them teaches the students nothing, very little about the society or indeed about the human nature. Their own society and the human nature that they are living with. People themselves, starting with themselves. So our system talks about Jiva and Jagata, and that and how the Jiva relates with the Jagata, that is at the individual with the society and the world, and the individual with the, oh, okay, we are sharing now that last one. Okay, fine. And the individual with the cosmic. When you say Ishvara, it's the cosmic. Okay, so I don't want to become religious over here, because when we are teaching general students in school, we are not necessarily trying to do this, but yet there is a cosmic being that each of us have our affinity to, a connection to, and that cosmic. So that is a sense of the understanding that we relate at a philosophical level, at a very fundamental philosophical level, that even children get it. So when I talk about, okay, so this was the picture I was referring to earlier. Can you see that vastness of that? How absolutely beautiful. When here Bharata is meeting Guha, and then here, after their further discussion in an elaborately laid out campsite under the tent, then Guha takes leave in order to make arrangements of the boats. And this is the Ganga, and across from this thing, and the boats that have been made ready. You can see the horses, the elephants, and all of this. So that was a picture I was, okay. Our own prejudices, problem statement. Okay, so just a points to ponder in our Sanskriti. Okay, can one even be considered educated without connection to our ancestral culture? Any education does not, and this question, the answer to this is not only in India, it has been given by the UNESCO, that in order to be considered educated, one has to be connected to one's ancestral culture. In order to be considered cultured, one has to be the same. It is like a tree. If you have a tree without its root, would that tree even be a tree? It's a dead tree then. So the roots are the ancestral culture that has come down, the ancestral tradition that has come down.
Arundhati ji?
Yes.
We are not able to view your screen. The share screen is not visible to us.
Oh, okay. Thanks for telling me. I'll do a stop share and I'll do a reshare.
Yes, please.
Only host, it says. So can I? When I'm trying to do a share screen, it's telling me only host. Okay. Okay. So can I do a share screen now? Which one? Yeah. Okay. So when I talked about the beautiful painting, you could not here. Can you see this now?
No, Arundhati ji, it's not visible.
It's not visible. Have I been given permission to share?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll just stop without till they figure out what the problem is. So all this time when I thought, okay, so I talked about what the problem statement and can we be considered. So what is the purpose of school education? I would say self-unfoldment. Actually, Michel put it as self-exploration, not just an exploration, through the exploration, unfoldment, blooming. But you think of a bud, and that bud starts to bloom. And when it blooms, its fragrance. So self-unfoldment of then self-fulfillment. We all like to feel fulfilled. To lead a meaningful life, and that is needed. Can you send them a message? Send a chat message that they need to fix something to allow me to show meaningful life and be positive contributors to society. Right? That is part of being fulfilled. I think you need to be able to allow me to, according to a person assisting me, there is some problem that on your side you need to fix to allow me to share.
Arundhati ji, we have assigned you as co-host, so you should be able to share screen actually.
Who can share? So do I have to change? Only I'm a host. Am I a host?
You're a co-host, yes.
I'm a co-host.
Yes.
So if I say only host, that will allow me to share?
Yes.
Okay. So share. Is it seen now?
No.
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 Okay, can see. Okay. All right. I'll just till they figure out. Okay. So when I was looking at NEP 2020, and now I'm going to have to read out. You won't be able to see it. To make it, I'm referring to the part where they talk about making it easier for governments and non-governmental organizations to build schools, encourage local variations on account of culture, geography, demographies, and allow alternative models of education such as the Gurukulas, the Pathshalas, the homeschooling requirements for schools will be made less restrictive. And that would allow for and the focus will be to have less emphasis on inputs and greater emphasis on the output potential in such a manner. Regulation on inputs would be limited to ensuring of safety rather than prescriptive about every aspect of things that must be examined and must be made compulsory. Okay. I thought this flexibility, they truly allow this kind of flexibility. It will be great for certain organizations and schools to take off. The general governmental schools still would need to bring in a lot more in order to allow for IKS to be a part of their education. So I will be addressing that. Now, one question that arises with this is, if education is about, what we'd say is education is about fostering humanity. Education is about character development. It's about knowledge creation. It is about depth understanding. It is about a meaningful life. It is about positive contribution to society. It is about living in harmony with nature. Now, if do any of these things require literacy? Because if our emphasis all the time is on the literacy, we refuse to gain knowledge from a whole level of society that is not necessarily literate, but yet highly educated. I will give you one small example. I was working at the museum, Asian Civilization Museum in Singapore. They have a wonderful creation of an arch, which is a stone arch that they had from a ruin in Delhi. The museum had acquired it. Now, to put that stone arch together, now it is a life-size thing. Now, if you were to go to an old thing in Delhi and you will find those arches, it's a life-size. They had to move the South Asia gallery, the Indian gallery, to the ground floor because it is sheer amount of weight of those granite stones. It had to be on the ground level. And to put that arch together, they required, it was such a specialized job that they had to get people who could be sort of who would be people who were who would be people who could construct. And they were only Delhi craftsmen who could construct. They were craftsmen that they got from India who could do this construction without any use of mortar, without any use of cement, without any use of nails. The manner in which the thing would be put together is almost like a very sophisticated Lego system by which the whole arch would stand. So now imagine this was just one arch without the 5 floors of buildings or the tremendous amount of, say, the size of Brihadishwara temple. Now all of these without nails and without this, with a very specialized and a thin layer of mortar of those kinds, it has been made in a manner that it can withstand even earthquakes or any calamities of the kind that happen. Okay, so this kind of technique and technology by which they could do was so specialized that this had to happen. Now, do we have in our own in Chinmaya International Foundation, we have a heritage home, and to put its entire wooden structures together, very few craftsmen remain who can even copy and do exactly what was done. If it had to come up from scratch, there would hardly be a craftsman or an architect available who could put together a wooden house of this kind today. So it does not require literacy necessarily to do a lot of things, and by requiring literacy in the manner in which we require, we close and we shut the doors to an immensity of Indian knowledge system. So I would say my whole purpose is not that people emerge from school being illiterate, that they cannot read and write and things like that. But my purpose is that it does not require literacy for a large part of Indian knowledge system and for us to learn from that. Yes. Okay. Now, can you all see my screen now? Okay. Is my screen available? Madam.
No.
Not yet. Okay.
It is not visible, Arundhati ji.
Okay. I'm just sorry. I'm not sure what's.
Because we can see it on our side.
We can see it when we do a share screen. We can see it, and then I do a stop share, and
we did all that.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what the issue is. All right. So, so anyway, let me talk about addressing the IKS at. Usually, what we would do is, IKS should be at every level. Primary school, when I've been given, it should be at every level of school, right? So, what I have done is I'm addressing the. Just 1 second. Give me 1 second to. Should I have to? Do I have to log out and log in again?
No. Share screen first. You have a slide?
13.
Share screen.
13.
Yeah.
Go down. 13.
Just see. Can they see now?
Can you see now? Yes? No?
No, madam.
No, Arundhati ji.
Okay. Okay. Let's just.
Harry, can you run the presentation from your side?
Yeah, can you run it from your side? Yes, I'm on slide 13.
Stop here.
Do it. Yes.
So, what should have been addressed, as everyone else has said before me, what should have been addressed in 1950s, early 50s, is now being attempted. We cannot afford any further loss of opportunity. And that is the reason why people were telling, oh, gradually it will be brought in. There should be nothing gradual. It has to be because your 12th standard student is now only in the 12th standard. They go on to go medicine and this thing, and you lost the opportunity of introducing IKS to them. The 11th standard, similarly with the 11th. So it has to be addressed simultaneously and most urgently at the high school level. The 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, those are the ones that have to be addressed in a very urgent manner with the IKS. Now, the IKS syllabus in KTPI that has been developed is very vast. And that can be some portion of it from every field could be taken for the 9th and 10th before, and then because in the 11th and 12th, it's an optional subject. So every student does not take it. So either the government lay it out as one of the requirement and required subject to be taken irrespective of what field that the student wants to do. Either that happens as a central requirement and the states sort of comply and the states are given a certain amount of freedom to introduce their local thing. Either that happens or in 9th and 10th it can be made compulsory, and so that at the 12th, when they are addressing their career, they can get more specific. So one of the two ways that requires a little more thinking on how by a group of people who are actually going to, are they going to get the policy going. And the reason, and also so we cannot afford, but yet there is ready material available in KTPI. That effort has been made by the likes of several, they being the main and several others contributing in big chunks to help with that, with putting together. Things can be added to it so that the same kind of material can be stretched over 4 years, because there's definitely, they have had a very difficult task to bring out only some things out of the vast field available. When I see that material, it falls into 3 main groups, okay, largely. One is the STEM aspects. The STEM aspects are things like agricultural science, Ayurvedic science, chemistry, metallurgy, mathematics, astronomy, technologies like water technologies, glass making technologies, and various others, okay? Environmental systems. So those come into the sciences. The arts and literature part, where you talk architecture, Natya Shastra related, literature in ancient India, folk music, dance, classical music, Carnatic Hindustani, musical instruments, classical dance forms, painting, theatre, drama, all of those can be brought into. Social sciences and humanities, Indian philosophical systems, ethics, education, languages, and the Vyakarana, the vast variety of languages. Of course, the Sanskrit language itself can be Sanskrit and its relation to all of the different languages, and how the Vyakarana pervades into all of the languages, or how the vocabulary pervades into all of this, will be very enriching, and cross-language understanding would happen. Societies yes.
We are able to share the screen from our side.
Okay, so can you go to the 13th slide, please? Thank you so much. Okay, so this is the 14th slide. That's fine. You can go on to that. So no, we can go back to the 13th slide. Yes, yes. So now, what are the challenges? The challenges are, one thing is that the mindset has now become so oriented as to irrelevance of, we are managing our life fine without knowing who we are. That kind of a thing. That the parents, the school management, the principal, the teacher, all of them are happy. So even what content of, say in the NCERT textbooks, the chapter, very often the chapter, say, let's say, precedes with a certain amount of, a couple of paragraphs or a box with Indian knowledge, some aspects of IKS. And then it goes on to the other chapter, and the teacher just skips it. Because it is not relevant, it will not come in exams. Okay, so so from teacher onwards, it has to be all of this has to be addressed. Principal onwards, it has to be addressed, because in the vision that the principal has. So I would like to quote an example of a teacher, of a principal in one of the Kerala schools of Chinmaya Vidyalaya, and she got 70 students. 48, 49 students of her 12th standard class taking up KTPI. So this is the largest number that even Chinmaya Vidyalayas have not managed to, other Chinmaya Vidyalayas. So I asked the principal personally, that how is it that you managed to get so many students? So she said, oh, 48, 49 are lower. The previous year, when we did not have a lockdown, the numbers were even greater. So how did you manage that? What did you do? She said that every single teacher who teaches in the 11th and 12th was involved in teaching KTPI. And chapters were divided, and they had meetings, and each of the teachers took up certain chapters to teach, and every single teacher was involved. So when every single teacher is involved, then the whole, and once the teachers read the material, they are themselves inspired, because it is after all telling us about ourselves. Okay, so, and about our entire country, about our civilization. So this is what happens. The principal's vision and the principal's commitment went a long way. School management and their support is required, and a lot of the times, from what I get from the school principals that are really convinced also, and teachers that are convinced, that the parents say, oh, it is not of any use in any field that they will be going into. If they're going into medicine, or they're going into architecture, engineering, it is not of any use to them. In fact, there was an agricultural college that said, oh, we will not recognize KTPI, though the students had agriculture science in their KTPI as one of the topics. Okay, so that kind of so the current university education itself can cause a big problem. Why? Because one thing is that they refuse, some of them refuse, despite the fact that there is an ordinance out that they have to recognize this as a subject. Some of the universities disregard that the student has spent a considerable amount of time on learning this topic, learning this subject. So the attitude of the university will then reflect on the high school students and high schoolers. So that becomes important. And parent then will get influenced to some extent. Okay, now I've not put the student as a challenge over here, because I feel that the student, especially, I'm not talking about the 11th and 12th who are now being brainwashed by the parents to look for career. But the younger students, they are curious, they are thirsting for information about themselves and a place in the world. Students, especially the younger students until 10th, their curiosity is boundless about this topic. So that is the reason why I have not placed student over here. Now, how can it be? Is there any further questions? Can you go to the next slide then? Okay. So the KTPI. So I've just given some, and Michelle has also spoken about this. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Can anyone tell me what this is? What picture do you see here? Huh? Not quite. No, I can't see everyone because I've got the screen here. Who's yes, absolutely, Meghdut. So the Yaksha is addressing the cloud. Okay. Now this Yaksha, Kalidasa's Meghduttam, this Yaksha is addressing the cloud. Now the Yaksha has been banished from his Himalayan abode of Alakavati. Alakavati. He's been banished and is longing for his love of his life who is there in the Himalayas. So he sends a message with the clouds. Now, when he's sending the message with the clouds, he is very specific about where the cloud should go and on his way. He does not tell the cloud, okay, just go from here straight away to Alakavati. He goes, and as the cloud is going over the different. Now, where is the cloud going from? From a place which is thought to be somewhere near Nagpur, Ramtek in Nagpur. From around that region, it is thought to be. And people have. Can you do a click?
No. The message will ask me.
Click. Yeah. Just do a click. Just do a click. Don't go to the next, but do a click.
We would need to mute all participants, Srihari.
I would request the participants to please mute themselves.
No, previous one. Just one click. No, next. Next. Okay. So where the cloud moves through, the entire geography of that area can be seen. The rivers have been named. Not just the rivers, the vegetation. What kind of vegetation? What kind of cities they will come to? In the city that they come to, what will be the? It has been mentioned that as you go over the Mahakala temple in over Ujjaini, there will be what kind of celebrations would be going on. So all of the culture is this, various dance forms have been described. What kind of instruments will be playing, and what the cloud should see and observe as it is going on its way to Alakapuri in order to deliver the message. Now just imagine if a child is introduced to geography in this manner. The child is given a little exercise saying, let's say you were sitting, instead of coming from your home to the school by school bus, you were sitting on a cloud and coming. What all would you see? And the child would be able to say, okay, I would first pass this street and there would be this shop and there would be this temple and there will be this spire of a church or whatever it is. And I would be able to there'll be some vegetable seller and etc. And I'll be able to reach the school. Okay, so a bird's eye. Now you can see that now what is being shown by satellite now in Google Earth is something that Kalidasa imagined, and hence the cloud went over this entire geography in this manner. Okay, so specifically, and then you can expand that from the local to go to the state, and from the state go to the neighboring states, and then go to it all the way to the Himalayas if you're in South India, or if you're in North India, go if you are in Gujarat, you can go all the way across to Manipur. Have the clouds go, have the children. Depending on the age of the child that you are addressing, that can be the kind of exercise that they could do. And then you introduce the Kalidasa's verses that allow this Meghadutam, that kind of, and bring them close to that. Several other people have written similar this thing, like just as Megha Sandesh is Kalidasa's work. Hansa Sandesh has been written by Vedanta Deshika 700 years ago, where the Hansa bird is taking the sun. And Chandra Sandesh has been written in recent times by Abhiraj Rajendra Mishra, who's taken as though the moon is being asked to give a sandesh. It's a very Mruganta is the word for the moon, right? So, and Shatabdani Ganeshji has on similar lines written a recent thing, Dhumra Dut, like Meghadoot, Dhumra, where the smoke is the messenger. Okay, so various kinds of imagination and can be set off, which connects deeply to your to the culture, at the same time teaches a subject. Okay, next. Oh no, next is 15 number. Okay, early education, it's come to that. All right. So, so early education, there has been numerous rich local traditions of India which have developed over. Now, I'm taking from IKS from NEP 2020. I'm picking out what is of interest for IKS. Numerous traditions have developed over millennia for early childhood care and education involving art, stories, poetry, song, and more will be suitably incorporated, which I'm very happy about. If they bring that into practice, that would be fantastic. The part which I'm not so happy about is the 0 to 3-year-old framework for 0 to 3-year-old. I hope that it is not some central authority trying to tell the parents what to do at such a young age. Even 3 to 8 is very young. 3 years to 5 years, that is 3, 4, 5 should be completely and entirely play oriented rather than any kind of a fixed curricular involvement. If you tell the teacher, they think their job is to teach, and they teach even a story they try to teach and kill the essence of the story by teaching. Okay, here I'm going to tell you Ramayana and give me the names of 4 brothers and then their wives' names and the thing, and they'll make it into a quiz which will kill the story of Ramayana, which otherwise the children have been enjoying. So, okay, now here I have a picture, early learning, and when I said early learning, I'm talking about, I will address some parts later, but I'm talking about the Devanagari alphabet. Now, why Devanagari alphabet? Because it is extremely scientifically laid out. If a child learns in this manner, they'll be able to address every other language. Besides, not only that, every other Indian language, the alphabetical structure is the same. It follows this kind of an alphabetical structure where you have the where you have the swaras and the vyanjanas in this manner. Particular sounds may be more, say Tamil may have a particular sound added and a particular sound missing, but by and large, whether the script is Devanagari or the script is Bengali or Gujarati, the Varnamala is the same. All right. So far more logical, far more intuitive than A and B. My first language in which I studied was Gujarati. And then I was in the second standard when I got first introduced to English. My father put me in an English school. So being in second standard, every other child around me knew the alphabet, but I did not know the English alphabet. So I had to start, when people were reading words and things like that, I had to start with the alphabet. When I was looking at the alphabet, I'm thinking A, but where is A sound? Because A is a matra added to the base sound A. Then B, where is B sound? B is a E matra added to the A. So my thinking all the time was how illogical is this English and how logical is the way that I have learned mine. And then I somehow made a understanding for my own self, in my own mind, as to the phonetic way of looking at it, and learned English in that manner for myself. I somehow did it for my own self. Okay, so how much better it would be if we started with their own language. Next. And then when the children grow up, when they're very young children, and you introduce that at the grade 2 and 3 level, or even maybe even 1, then later on you can talk about the Nasika, Danta Mula, Danta, Oshta, Murda, Talu, okay, and where the sound is produced, and show how this Varna Ucharana will tell you where the sound is to be produced, how much emphasis is to be given, like ta, tha, tha. You can see if you say ta and tha, you can see the amount of air going out and okay. So all that kind can follow later. How much time do I have now? Next slide, please. Okay, so please don't do any more clicking. I'll just click at it. So when they are developing language skills, bhasha, what are the aspects of bhasha? Please click now. Okay, so Shravanam and Bhashanam. We first listen. Now, the child, now we're talking about development of language. Okay, the child first listens. Then from the listening, the child talks. So Bhashanam comes after the Shravanam. Okay, after Shravanam and Bhashanam comes, click again, the Pathanam, the reading. And after that reading comes Lekhanam, the writing. Okay, now see what we are doing to the child even in preschool. What we are, instead of the Shravanam and the Bhashanam, the listening to the sound and the speaking, we are straight away going to the writing. And we are trying to introduce the listening through the writing. Okay, so that it becomes a topsy-turvy way of learning language. Please click. So, what is the Shravana Bhashana is the Dhvani, the sound. That is the Sambandha, the connection between listening and talking. So any language, now when it comes to a second language, other than mother tongue, when it comes to a second language also, listening and speaking. So the reason why people find Sanskrit difficult is because they don't hear Sanskrit being spoken. Even the Sanskrit teachers do not speak Sanskrit. And so because Shravanam does not happen, the speaking becomes very difficult. And straight away one is led to Lekhanam and Pathanam, which should come later. So Lekhanam and Pathanam are, please click, Lipi Sambandha. Lipi Sambandha is the script. They are connected by the script. And for Gnana Grahanam, to learn in order to gain knowledge, we require Shravanam and Pathanam. Please click. Just whoever is doing it will have to kind of click. Next click. Please click.
Shrihari?
Yeah, I just click. I've got the animation going, so right? So you just have to do a click. Just as Dhvani Sambandha and Lipi Sambandha appeared, it will appear Gnana Grahanam, and that is the connection. So for gaining knowledge, you require the Shravanam and the Pathanam, the reading, the listening and the reading are the ways by which, please continue to share. And between the, for expression, what you require is Bhashanam and Lekhanam. this is, you speak and you write. These are the two ways of your gnana. How do you express your gnana? These are the two ways in which you express your gnana. Please continue to share. Okay, so now I've gone to the, now I go on to the value education, go on to the next this thing. So I've moved from, in some ways I've moved backwards. I've started with the high school and addressing that, and now going to the kindergarten and the early education, and now going to kindergarten as well as the middle school. Value education, the yogic way. The children understand yama, niyama, and all of the other sort of ethical ways of approaching yama, niyama. So what are the yama, niyama? Ahimsa, satya, steya, brahmacharya, parigraha, shaucha. All of these can be introduced through stories and through their actual experience in life. The children are very, very attuned to fairness and unfairness. They will protest. This is not fair. This is one of the biggest complaints you will find when the child comes home from school and the teacher has been unfair. Oh, so and so was given more attention. I put up my hand, but the teacher ignored me for 20 minutes and never asked me and said the time is over, and I had my hand up this thing. So that was unfair. You will find that the most frequent complaint of this thing. So that means they have a very finely tuned mind as to what is right and what is wrong. And in their worldview, that if some cheating has happened, especially by the elders, they are very, very aware of that. So, so the basis of this would, just as we would not like to be, it is very easy to introduce these even to the children. Okay, so these are the ways in which, so the yama is the relationship outward, and niyama are for the self. But yet shaucha I would put as shaucha I would put as outer and inner, because the outer shaucha, our school themselves, the bathrooms in the school sometimes can be so filthy. The schools themselves can be, the path that the children take to come into the school can be so filthy. So we have abundant outer shaucha. At the time when these yoga sutras and these were made, they took it for granted that there will be outer shaucha, and inner shaucha is what we need to be concerned about. But now we've come to the stage where outer and inner at both levels. So if the child comes to school in the early this thing, and the first thing the child does is clean up the school, or when they are leaving the school, there is a certain time, that kind of yes, the slides will be shared. So that kind will be very, very useful to set aside a certain amount of time, not just in practical work, in practical doing of things by which these values get internalized. They are not for speaking, they are not for teaching they are for imbibing in a manner that is so. So one of the exercises I did once, there was an entire competition, the group competition, the one group versus the other groups and things like that. And when the group that won got a 1 kilo packet of chocolate, and there were about 40 children. There were easily more than 40, 50, 80 chocolates or more in that packet. Okay. Now, what happened was, so the group that won got this whole packet of chocolate. What they did is they distributed it among themselves. Now, one of the child who got 5 or 6 chocolates went and gave to his friends, some of the thing and himself, but the rest of them did not. Then, when we were doing a group session after that, I had noticed the reason I had given a whole lot more chocolates is to see how many of them share. So the santosha, the happiness of winning should spill over into sharing. That is santosha. So that kind of, so when I said that, they all realized, and from their pockets, they took out and passed it on to the ones who had not got. Okay, so that kind of a thing, that yes, we won. Yes, that was happy, but now we share. Just as we share on our birthdays, just as we share on our anniversary days, the same. So sharing, the happiness that you get out of sharing is the santosha. Not from I get, that isn't santosha. Okay, so swadhyaya, learning by yourself. Right now, what is being done, school is giving a lot of homework. And the moment the child comes home, the mother sits down with the child to do the homework. Where is swadhyaya? Where is a chance for the child to learn by himself, with himself, of things that the child themselves like? So my child grew up in the US in the early years, and the reading assignment was whatever it is that the child wanted to read. So the teacher would send home one list, and whatever the child has read, the child will enter into, and it could be a magazine, it could be a comic, it could be just about anything. And the choice was the entirely 100% the child's choice of what the child wanted to read. And that is what grows the love of reading. And from the love of reading, other studies emerge. So that kind of, so those kind of a niyama. Ishvara pranidhana is not necessarily a religious thing, because a higher entity is something that every child has within themselves, and that is what is meant over here. So next slide, please. Okay, so value education the dharmic way. Yes, please. No, go on to the next slide. Yes, Ramayana and Mahabharata are replete with stories that will be educative in many different ways. And Mahabharata can be maybe a slightly later, and Ramayana could be the earlier this thing, because it's easier, it flows in a more, this thing, Mahabharata is a very complicated kind of a flow, but they're very essential. Okay, the characters in the stories are something that that can be taken up even at a later stage. Happiness is the dharma of all beings. That is the dharma. It is not, happiness is not just my own dharma, it is every single person's dharma. And so living in a manner where everyone is in tune with that dharma of myself, which is the dharma of all, which is happiness. So not to cause that ahimsa, it goes back to that ahimsa, not to cause hurt to the other by our own behavior, that kind of thing. It can be tied in through the stories. The stage of life which we are addressing is the brahmacharya, and that is a student. So the student, what is a student? The one who studies. Okay, so understanding karma, if you study, you learn, you understand, you know, and you have a right to, and your knowledge itself makes you a valuable human being in any field, whether it is singing or whether it is dancing or whether it is writing or whether it is in any aspect, it is that. So understanding that karma and any action that one does has its consequence, result. There can be no, and by karma, it is also akarma. If we do not study, it will result in not getting marks. We're having everybody pass till 8th standard, and suddenly at 9th, the person realizes that it doesn't have the fundamentals that should have been there in the 4th standard. That is a terrible way of going about it, because you cannot address that in the high school. You have to address the 4th, the fundamentals at first, second, third, fourth, and onwards. Those you have to address those. So karma has its consequence. Just as if a child beats up another child, one is that other child will return by beating. the other consequence can be that the child will be ignored, the child will be left out, the child will be not called for a birthday party. So consequences of karma. Okay, so one has to understand that both karma has this thing and responsibility. It lays, understanding karma lays a responsibility for one's own action on oneself. So if I pick up something from another person, that person is the same. I become it. What does it make me? To understand the responsibility, and if there's freedom of choice, that freedom of choice cannot be abused. And abhyasa, what is abhyasa? It is a cultivation of the genius. It is, genius is not born. Swami Chinmaya, I remember always saying, in our culture, we do not say a genius is born. A genius is, there is a methodology to the genius. Even when we are seeing a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old with certain inborn, what do we say? Purva Janma Prarabdha Karma. So that the abhyasa has been done. You do not see it in this lifetime, but it is previous. Now, if I am able to go into a pool and start swimming, what will you say? That person has previously swum. Even if you see me swimming now, if I get onto a bicycle and see me cycling, you say, okay, in your childhood, you've done cycling, and that's why you're able to do. So, Purva. But if I start singing at the age of 4, to say that no, somehow it happened by accident, it doesn't. So, so abhyasa is a way of cultivation of the next slide, please. Okay, so what are the need of the hour? The soft skills, which are all embedded in our cultural IKS teaching: learn to learn, learn to communicate, culture and value rootedness, because otherwise we will blow with the breeze. Uniqueness and commonality, that is diversity, so those, and the fundamental commonality, despite every region being so unique, the team spirit, which in the Bhagavad Gita is called the Yagna spirit, by which working. So most of our teaching right now has become such that only an individual succeeds. It's never the team that succeeds. We have very little happening in our school except for sports where the team wins. Where as a team you work together and as a team you succeed. So learning to, I was told by an Indian in the US, in the management school, that by an Indian who had been there for a number of decades. And he said that in the management school, an Indian who comes from India is never wanted in the team because they do not know how to work in a team. So even working in a team, they try to show themselves as best, somehow thinking that that will give them more marks, or more, they will be the same. So they do not know how to work as a team. Now this is so opposite of what our culture is. Our culture has always been a team player, but our schools have made us into individual, meaning succeed at the cost of the other, never work as a team. So so school has to address how they are going to do this kind of teamwork by which teams succeed outside of only sports. We are talking, of course, sports you win as a team, but outside of sports, how you can win as a team. Okay, just niti, ethics, dharma, being true to oneself. Let me start. Okay, now here I've gone. Please go on to the next slide. Okay,
Arundhati ji, we have about 13 more minutes for the session to conclude.
Okay,
Just
so
wanted
let
to
me
give a
very
gentle
quickly
reminder.
go through the slide and just say what I was meaning, and I won't give any further. So every one of us recognizes this Rangoli and Kala, right? Completely mathematics. Look at the number of mathematical concepts, even in the simplest one that is there over here in the center. Okay, if you put, now this is 3 by 3 square, 3 dots by 3 dots. Okay, when I say 3 by 3, I think all of us understand this language so well. Okay, if I put 2 by 2, also there are number of combinations. By 3, the number of combinations go on one website that I was looking at. Now see here, see this. Here there are 9 combinations given. On one website that I was looking at, 45 possible combinations. If you see over here, this is also 3 by 3 embellished by dots on the corners. Can you see how this is done? You know what this is? Can anyone tell me what this is? What does it tell you? Just rotate it in your mind a little and it'll. It's a swastika. Huh? So you see this, and all of this we consider completely, totally non-literate people will do elaborate. 3 by 3 is something that you and I who don't do it every day will struggle with. But this. So if the children, why are we starting to teach numbers? If we just start doing this, they will learn the numbers themselves. Why are we teaching mathematics, permutation, combination, proportions, symmetry, so many of the mathematical concepts? How do you do in different ways? This, if people who are not South Indians and were trying to do this in the North, we connect the dots, and so we don't learn this. And then when I encountered this for the first time, I had to do certain things 3 or 5 times in order to get it. How do you do it in a continuous line without picking up your hand? All right. So all of that. Okay. And now here, going from 8 to 16 to 32, you see that Rangoli? You see that concept? You start off with a circle. This is 8, 16, 32. All right. So, so progression, so many mathematical this thing, and children, you can just have children having fun. Please go to the next. Need of the hour, please go to the next. Okay, so innovative thinking, see, imagine the, just read the box over here. Imagine the ancient Indian traders setting out to find new markets products, stretching from Greece to Egypt to Japan, China, and countless other places, Southeast Asia and everywhere. They encountered complexity and ambiguity. They innovated and they designed. They persuaded and they communicated. They cornered, despite language barriers, okay? They cornered markets and they created very classy products. The kings of all of Southeast Asia would wear only Indian clothes on their coronation, and the highest. So they had classy products as well as the product for the masses. The reason why the Dutch tried to come to India was because they could not trade in Southeast Asia because Southeast Asia wanted Indian products. So they tried to establish base in India so that they can take Indian products to Southeast Asia to trade with them. All right. So this, for 2000 plus years, India dominated the world economy. It is not a boast. There are books written by various very prominent economists on this. Please go to the next. Among the major problems that we face, and there's been a summit at the world level which has been so difficult to get consensus on the major problem we are facing today: unsustainable living and like depletion of resources from the ocean, from the earth, from various things. Some countries acting extremely greedy and cornering the markets on certain substances. Health, water, food and water insecurity, climate change, pollution. We know that we need to tap into our Indic civilization. You know, all our Purana stories. Somebody was asking earlier about mythology. The Purana stories, how does it start? Prithvi Mata goes to Brahmaji and says, I am burdened. I can no longer sustain the burden on me. The people are living adharma. They are exploiting each other, they are exploiting me. And I cannot bear this burden. Please do something. And who does she go to? She goes to Brahmaji, the creator. Brahmaji says, this is the department of Vishnu. And she goes to Vishnu. And Vishnu assures her that he will come. And he takes avatar on earth in order to lessen the burden on the Prithvi. Right now, the kind of living that we are doing, it is really, can we hear the cry of Prithvi Mata? Samudre vasane devi parvatastana mandale Vishnupati namastubhyam padas parsha kshamasvame. Even before we put our foot on the ground, we are supposed to say this, that I am going to, do we, our mother earth, do we kick our mother? We are not talking about the baby and the child, okay? Do we kick our mother? No. But yes, our mother earth we are going to step on. So let me take the ask forgiveness that we do. This is the culture. From that we are becoming complete exploiters of the earth. So if we were to teach this to the child and say, this is our mother. Can we live without our mother? Can we grow without our mother? Can we have food without our mother? Okay. So, and Parvatasan, Samudre Vasane Devi, Vasane are clothes. She is clothed in the oceans, in the waters. So it's so ocean is a part of that earth, right? It's not something separate. So all of that. All right, please go to the next. So we need to introduce this. Okay, Chinmaya Vision program was introduced in the 90s, in the late 90s, early 2000s, which talked about the integrated development. So it's giving you a pedagogy in some ways, which now the NEP is also trying to, is bringing into this. So integrated development, physical, emotional, intellectual, cultural, national patriotism, universal outlook. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, global citizen, wonderment for nature, perceive divinity in everything. If you perceive divinity in the earth, you take what you need, not this. Our culture does not say we conquer Mount Everest. No, no, no. That is the language of the Westerner. We respect and allow to be able to climb, okay, the mount. All right, so life paths unlimited. They are the unlimited possibilities. They are hampered only by our lack of imagination, where IKS can lead us in our entrepreneurs at social, industrial, tourism sector, art sector, public services, private industries. There's unlimited number of possibilities of life paths. So you need not hesitate that there be children saying, parents saying, what will they do afterwards? That need not be a hesitation. Educational sector and entrepreneurship at that level, unlimited is the journalism, public relations, culture is at the basis. And that is why yesterday, I think Jay Deepak talked about culture being the intellectual property all over the world. People are claiming that. So success in IKT, IKS, IKT is limited only by our imagination, and paradigm shift and thinking is necessary to solve the world problems and our own problems. And with that, I will end. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry for some of the technical error that happened. We should have switched over to much earlier. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Forgive me.
Dr. Arundhati ji. We have about 4 minutes and we could take probably 1 or 2 questions and then we could have a break. The participants have been in the session since 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yes.
And our next session is at 11:30. Maybe 1 or 2 questions we could take. Yes. Anybody would like to ask a question? You could please raise your hand and you could ask the question by unmuting yourself. If you could raise your hand, we will. Any questions? Or you could put it in the chat, whatever is comfortable to you. I see many of our participants' video is off, and this is an absolute necessity to keep the videos on. Any questions? Any reflections, any thoughts, any ideas? I'm sure whatever we have heard from Professor Arundhati ji with all her conviction.
I'm sorry that a lot of problems happened in the sharing, and so it took away time.
No, it's okay. I think it was meant. It was meant to be the way it was. I always believe that everything that happens is meant to be that way. That is the beauty of IKS again, isn't it? Yes, yes. Okay, so I see no questions.
Okay.
Any reflections, any ideas, any thoughts? So how would you like? It's always, you know,
I
when
would like to thank Michelle G personally, because he's been an inspirer in many ways. When we undertook the training of the principals and the teachers in IKS, we realized that the reason why IKS was not being, because no school teacher is being trained in the subject. A school teacher is being trained for mathematics and teaches mathematics. A school teacher is being trained for English and is teaching English or languages, other languages, okay? But there is no training for the school teacher in any of the IKT. So we realized that there were true, genuine problems on the part of the teachers. Especially at the 11th and 12th level, but even at other levels. So unless universities and prompted by the ministry is not willing to undertake teacher training in a very serious manner in what to teach, how to teach, and this will remain a challenge in a very big way. So workshops of 10-15 days, the kind that you are doing, are required for school teachers in order to allow them to become teachers in IKS, and whether they are doing geography or whether they are doing science or whether they are doing any of the, how to integrate that into their seamlessly. My ideas, my mind, if I have to work to teach, I can sort of immediately start thinking and this thing, but not all teachers necessarily, they want a methodology. Okay, so that is where, the cap seller story that all of us know, right? The child went out to sell caps and came back home having sold because the mother was not well, could not go to the market, and came back home with a so I had to take once in a school, in a private school, I had gone, and the teacher had school that had first, second, third, all in one class. And I was told, can you hold the class for half an hour? This is an urgent thing. I said, yes, I will do it. I said, now what to do? I don't know anything of what they've done before and things. So I told the story and I said, first, second, third. So I said, okay. So the child went out with 10 caps and sold them at 5 rupees each. So how many rupees did he come back home with? So they had to, this thing, and they started writing down. And the youngest child who did not know how to read and write said 50. Correct. So I said, okay. Then those people wrote it down and gave me an answer. So I said, now, okay. The next time the child was so happy, the same. But then I said, no, the child didn't come back home with 50 rupees. He came back with 55. How can that be? They say, because the child himself was wearing a cap and when he went. So he had 10 for sale, but he thought, oh, I'm getting money. He sold this also. One customer came and the child said, okay, here. So he came back home with 55. And the mother said, how did you come home with 55? Give you 10 caps. Oh, this. So then suddenly the children now I said, okay, so now he said the red cap was the most popular. So let us keep the price for the red cap to be, and if they are young, then I'll make it a multiple of the same, 10 rupees. The other caps are for 5 rupees. Okay. So now suddenly the children like, okay, so in half an hour they did so much of mental math through that story. Okay, no reading, no writing, this thing, put everything away and made it easy enough. And so how to integrate is easy enough to integrate. How to make any subject interesting is just a matter of giving a little thought. And joy. If the child does not experience joy, your teaching is wasted. If the child is slogging for the exam, they come out of the exam hall and forget outside the door. That is what happened to me in history. 100% of the, okay, maybe not 90% of the history was forgotten the moment I stepped outside of the exam hall. Okay, so joy in learning is the most important thing, if you say.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arundhati. We do have a couple of questions, but probably we don't have the time to take it now. What we will do is we will collate the questions and mail it to you, Dr. Arundhati.
Okay.
If you can respond, we can share it with the participants.
Thank you, Richaji. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arundhati ji, for the time, and we'll have you again more and more going.
Yes. So the other one on pedagogy is there, right? 3rd December. So at that time I'll be able to address some of the pedagogy aspects.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Yes, you have a workshop with us. That time we will see how. Thank you so much. I would request all the participants to please stay for 1 or 2 minutes for some guidelines. Yes. Am I audible, visible?
Yes.
Can I have
Yes,
liberty
madam.
to see all of you? Can I see you? I'm also a teacher, and it's always nice to have that eye contact and see the expressions, isn't it? How many of us like that? Imagine talking to a blank screen, how frustrating it would be to a teacher, isn't it? Yes, that is the reason why perhaps it has been said that when we are in the FTP, the number is only restricted to 40, so that there is a proper teacher-student ratio. Yes, that is the thought behind it. So let us please keep our cameras on. Yes, all these guidelines have been mentioned. And there is a weightage to the attendance also, if you have read the guideline. There is a weightage to the attendance. There is a weightage to the summary, to the feedback. There's going to be a midterm, a final term. And also, yes, we would love to have some paper presentations at the end of the 18-day session, isn't it? How many of us? It's always good, no, when we have some kind of an assessment and make sure that we are present, not physically, but mentally also. One thing is to just go by this decorum. The other is, of course, if we just relieve us from all this decorum, the other thing is that any kind of learning needs all the attention and the discipline and the sadhana, isn't it? Isn't it? And it takes years and years and years and years to become what we have become today, and it's an ongoing journey. So when we are seriously contemplating of understanding IKS, bringing IKS to the disciplines we are teaching, it cannot be done if we are totally not there. Yes or no? No? So it is very important now that you've decided to be a part of this 18-day. It is good that we are totally free from other things and we are totally focused here. It will help us because we are going to be the instruments to bring about a change eventually. So the better quality of our understanding, engagement, participation, it is going to affect whatever we are going to touch. Otherwise, it's going to be piecemeal knowledge, and that's going to dilute it further, whatever we are going to take it forward from us. Yes. So that is the whole spirit. We meet at 11 a.m. We are sharing with you the repository material. The link has been shared already yesterday. And the summary and the feedback form will come in the evening. Please do fill it up again. That writing it, that suggestion, the summarizing it itself is a process of our growing further and deeper into the knowledge. Please do study the material as and when you are receiving it, and you just stagger it in that manner. And please keep your videos on. If there are technical issues, we can understand once in a while. But now internet is quite stable everywhere. I live in a small village in Bihar, very small village, and we have no issues of the internet there at all. Yes, so please let's keep our videos on and we will meet at 11. Yes, Dr. Ajayji, would you like to express something?
Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Is it some time limit for submitting the feedback form?
No, I think in the mail it is mentioned by 6 a.m. every day.
6 a.m. because
6 I'll just check if that was mentioned in the mail. I thought it was mentioned.
Yesterday's today I filled yesterday's feedback in the morning.
Yes. So if we will give you by evening, you can fill it up by 6 a.m. on the next day and submit it to us. So, we can also just start going through the summary that you have given, run it by the IKS experts on your understanding, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, madam.
Okay. Is everything
Madam,
okay? Yes, yes, yes.
Madam, please make sure that all the material we get, because yesterday we got only one.
Yes, see, we are on the material, we are dependent on the faculty. So sometimes they may send it after a day, they may not send immediately, and sometimes they don't like to send before. So the efficiency is not a delay at our end, it is just that it is yet to be received from the ends of the faculty. So if it is delayed, We can send them a reminder, but if it still is delayed, we just have to go by the way it is. Yes, we are at it. We are working. We are reminding the faculty to share the PPT and material. Sometimes it comes a little late. They're so tied up, all of them. Sometimes they're not able to give immediately at that time. Okay. But whatever material we have, we can start going through it. I think even going through one PPT will take us 1 or 2 days of one person, isn't it? Okay. I see some of us are constantly on the screen but speaking and they're not here. Please make sure that you are here. The faculty get back to us and they give us the feedback of the students also. We receive your feedbacks also from the faculty. Right? Okay. Namaste. See you at 11.
Just one last thing. Namrata.
Yes, Namrata. Yes, Namrata.
Yeah. Dr. Suresh ji, he had created an Excel sheet for so that all of us can know all of us. That background Excel sheet. Just wanted to request Suresh ji if you could enable edit access to that, so that we can all start filling it up.
We'll communicate to Suresh ji separately also, Namrata. We'll do that. See you a little before 11 a.m. for the next session. Namaste. I hope you have eaten your breakfast and everything. Huh?